What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday for all of you who don't see me on Tuesdays anymore. I have a really special guest. For all of you who have followed me since 2019, you know that me and Jay and the Bay go way, way back. It's been a long time. Welcome to the stream, Jay and the Bay. How you doing?
Faithful Niner Empire. What's good? It's your boy Jay in the Bay. Aaron, it's been a minute. It's been too long. Glad we finally were able to link up as my son enters the room. He wants to be on camera as well. But hey, man,
Awesome.
how are you doing?
It's been crazy, man. It's I don't think we've streamed together in like a year and a half, maybe. It's been a good minute. And
At least, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe it was like during some heartbreak times with the Niners losing like a championship game or something. It was like it wasn't on the best of terms that we stopped, and it's kind of funny that I was like, man, I really want to talk to him about this Browns deal. Well, we lost because Jay always is pretty positive, and that game put me in a really bad mental funk. I was like, man, that sucked, just the way that it went, and then the talk of the people in the media. I let it bother me sometimes. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna reach out to Jay, see if he's available. I'm gonna let him talk me back into a good mood, because I know he can. So
It
yeah,
it
man, it's been a
was
long time.
No, absolutely. It's definitely been a long time. Glad to be back on with you and your platform, 49ers First Takes, man. You're growing, you're leveling up, man. You're at what, like 6,000 subscribers now or what?
About 6,500. So
Woo!
about
Hey,
6,000.
man, that's excellent, man. But in
Thank you.
regards to the game, it was kind of a perfect storm. I didn't like how the 49ers are starting a pre-game brawl. I mean,
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk, what are you doing? You're going into enemy's stadium, and then you're starting a fight. Like, I just like, who are you? Have we won anything? Did the Niners win a Super Bowl that I haven't heard about? Like, I don't know. So I just thought everything was off. Obviously, we had the injuries to CMC. Debo got hurt on the first play of the game. The penalties. It just was a bad game overall. Moody missing kicks, Shanahan's play calling, not running Jordan Mason. Like, you could point to a lot of things as to why, and give credit to the Browns. I mean, they had the number one defense coming in. I don't know if the faithful know this, probably know by now, but Kyle Shanahan versus Jim Schwartz. I think Schwartz has won 8 of 9 games versus Kyle Shanahan. So clearly, there's familiarity there, and Schwartz knows exactly what to do to beat Kyle Shanahan, and it shows.
Randy Daytona wants to know why there are 4, 5, or 6 of you going. I don't. I asked Jay last night if he wanted to do something, so I didn't even know. It doesn't really matter. The same people I appreciate always come through. Might not be the amount that I wish I could have, but those of you who do come through and support, regardless who else is streaming, I appreciate
We
it, and
appreciate it.
Jay does too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a perfect storm of suck on Sunday.
Yeah.
Weather, penalties, injuries,
Yeah.
just a vibe of just like I thought it was going to be a weird game just because it's an East Coast 10 a.m. start.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 1 a.m. start, but it's an East Coast or West Coast 10 a.m. start, right?
Yeah.
I thought the Niners would weather the storm though, but I did think it was going to be a weird, kind of clunky, maybe not the sexiest game, and it was that, and then some. Brock, we can hit the first topic I have is, is did Brock get exposed, or is Brock less than what we thought he was with this loss, or do the Browns have a really good defense and other quarterbacks have struggled against them too? I had the stats that I pulled up in my stream yesterday. What was your take on? We'll single out on Brock real quick. So
Yeah.
everybody had a piece of the pie, but like, what was your take on Brock's play in that game? I thought I
Brock
don't. Go ahead.
Brock showed that he's not perfect. Brock showed that he's human, just like everyone else. We all have our bad days. We have our good days. Credit to Cleveland's defense. They only got, I think they got maybe 3 sacks in the game. but they really pressured Brock a lot through the middle of our offensive line. I thought it was a bad game by our interior offensive line. You know, Brock was he had pressure in his face on a lot of his throws. I wanted Shanahan to do more play action rollout plays where you fake it to the back, you have Brock roll out. Usually there's not guys coming to him and he can clearly see the field. I thought Shanahan called up that play a few times, maybe like 4 or 5 times. I thought we needed to do it more since we had a tough time giving Brock a clean pocket to throw from. But I thought in the game versus the Browns, it was a blip, not a trend. I thought the trend from the beginning of the season with what I've seen from Brock and also last year was that, he was able to be very efficient with his passing. Even if a blitzer came in his face, he was still able to make, accurate throws where only his receiver could catch the ball. And Brock did make some good throws. Hey, Ayuk had that was his worst game of the year, wouldn't you say? I mean, he was targeted 10 times, only came down with 4 of them. I know there was a big 3rd down drop by Ayuk. And that was also when a blitzer was coming into Brock's face. He stood in there and he threw it, but I couldn't come down with the ball. I just think, was Brock exposed? No. I think this is what happens when, CMC gets hurt, Debo gets hurt. You're playing against the best defense in the AFC, I would say, at least. And I don't think we're going to play another defense like that in the AFC, or in the NFC for that matter. But Brock is still the man. Brock is still the quarterback, present and future of the 49ers. I just think he had a bad game. And I was saying shout out to the Straight Out of the Bay. That's the group I'm in with Kelts, Bay Area Baller, and Amin the Dream. I was saying, hey, I want the Niners to experience some adversity. I want them to experience it early in the season. I don't want us to be, it sounds great, 12-0, 13-0, whatever. But I think it's good that we get this loss early because I think the energy just wasn't right with this squad coming in, or at least a few players. When you start a brawl with someone in the opposing stadium, it's like, what are you doing, man? We haven't won nothing. This is game 6. Like, what are you doing? But we saw the adversity that hit the Niners. I think it builds character. You look at Moody missing the field goals. You look at Shanahan's play calling. You look at Purdy. You look at Ayuk. I think we'll all learn from this and get better.
Miss Debbie Ryan, first of all, thank you for coming through. We appreciate it. It's been a while. I haven't saw you in a while, but I want to say thank you for coming through, Miss Debbie. She says, good evening, gentlemen. Blessings to everyone joining tonight. Please remember to hit that like. Thank you very much. I'm taking the game as a learning experience for a team to grow from. Reminds me a lot what Jay says. Like it was a learning experience. Like my whole thing with this game is like the Niners were on such a high after beating Dallas that the only conceivable way that this was going to go is the way it went. I just had a feeling that the Niners would be flat. I had a feeling that the Niners would be a little bit into their own self because the national media was giving us a lot of attention last week after that game, talking about the Niners being the best team in the league, Super Bowl caliber team, yada, yada. People are like, the players don't pay attention. Yes, they do. Everybody pays attention. Unless you're like doing the Aaron Rodgers retreat where you're living in a dirt hole. People watch TV, they watch social media, they know what's going on. So I felt like this kind of game was going to happen. Did I think it was to the level it was? No, I didn't realize that it was it was like like you said, a perfect storm of like bad quarterback play, bad receiver play, bad running defense, tackling, coaching, weather, injuries. It was everything. The refs were in it. Here's what my nephew always says though. Mm-hmm. My nephew always says, when you blame the refs, that's on you. He goes, if you put yourself in a position to where the game is in a position to where the refs calls affect the outcome, then maybe you're not doing a good enough job in that game.
No, I think that's fair. Position. That's a fair statement. Yeah. But they did make some calls that, I would say the most egregious one that could have flipped the game for us was PJ Walker and the supposed incomplete pass. That to me, it looked like a fumble.
It was
We
a
would have been
fumble.
able to get possession. Bosa had the ball. Maybe he would have took it to the house. So that was huge. But we should not leave the game up to the refs. I completely agree with that. And I don't like to blame the refs, but it's part of the story. I think it's definitely part of the story. But we didn't play our best ball. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was a type of game that I like to forget for sure when I watch it. Like that was just a whole world of bad.
Yeah.
I was so like I said, I was in a bad way after that game because I am one of those people who I'm very extreme with my thoughts. So like when the Niners are doing really well, I'm all positive. And then as soon as they lose a game, I start to notice all the negative aspects of the team that I'm like, oh, we're gonna get exposed. What if this is an ongoing trend? Like I let my mind go there.
Yeah.
Especially with like the game in Minnesota happening. Now Jefferson's not playing in that game, but still, like you're on the road, you're in a hostile dome.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins.
You're afraid of
know.
Kirk Cousins on prime time?
Yeah, well, on prime time, Monday Night Football. This is gonna be interesting. Somebody told me I needed to make a T-shirt that says "I'm nervous about our next opponent" because I literally say that after every game. Like I'm nervous about our next opponent. I'm nervous. Go ahead.
I'm not nervous. Here's why. I think the Niners should be humbled after this loss. I think, like you said, they were riding high after beating the Cowboys, and this was a letdown game for the Niners. Obviously, we looked great on that first drive. It looked like the rest of the games this regular season, right? But then things quickly turned. The penalties were huge as well. You could almost argue that the penalties were the worst thing. We would get positive yardage plays, and then they would get called back because Burford held or Trent Williams held or there was a false start. So as much as we want to blame the refs or other circumstances, the weather, we hurt ourselves a lot. I think this was the NFL record. There was over like 24 penalties, both teams over like 200 yards. Like it was ridiculous. It was a sloppy game, but I think the Niners take a step back, look in the mirror, and we should be humbled by this performance. We understand how this feels of this loss, and I think we take care of business in Minnesota.
I think we'll bounce back too in Minnesota, but I feel like the Niners kind of got humbled because things have been pretty easy. No game in the NFL is easy.
Right.
No game. It takes a lot to win a game, but like the Niners, if you look at the first 5 opponents, it wasn't like, man, I'm really stressed out about these games.
I think the Rams was the toughest game or most closest game, right? Yeah. So
I still thought they were going to win that game in the end, and I thought it was going to be close. Let's go to the kind of the big story right now. Injuries. 3 main cogs injured in that game. We got Deebo Samuel with the shoulder. They say he's day to day. Christian McCaffrey. Actually, no, I'll go to Trent Williams first. Day to day with an ankle. Came back in the game, wasn't as effective. Deebo never came back in. And then, of course, Christian McCaffrey with the oblique injury. I've had an oblique injury before, and it hurts really bad. I pulled a rib muscle once when I was working, and I literally couldn't breathe, or turn, or anything. So, like if I had to burp or cough or
laugh,
move suddenly, it hurts so bad. Now take that, and I'm not an athlete. I'm an out of shape, middle-aged guy. Take that to a guy who's in his prime of his NFL career, getting walloped every play because he runs the ball like 20, 22 times a game.
Yeah.
It's a huge, huge injury. Now, all of them are expected possibly to play against the Minnesota Vikings. But question to you is either with all of them or at least CMC. Can the Niners afford to sit anybody? And if you had to sit CMC, would you do it? Like, would you go the 2 games and say, yeah, we're going to sit you out a couple games and then we'll come back to you after the bye week? Or are you all hands on deck unless it's like a serious injury? Like, how are you feeling about the 3 of them? And like, most importantly, Brock.
Well, the great news is that they're not season-ending injuries. So I think that's the great news. You mentioned CMC with the oblique rib injury. Like, we're still expecting him to, be CMC, and he has that rib injury. He'll probably get his shot up before the game, I would imagine. I would say Trent Williams, if he could play. They say it's not a high ankle sprain, so I guess it's basically just pain management. If he could go, obviously let him play. What's good, David? How you doing? CMC, I would give him the week off. I would. I think Shanahan needs to develop more trust in JP Mason. I don't know what the deal is with Elijah Mitchell. Maybe the injuries have taken a toll on his body, but he's just not the same. He didn't get a ton of opportunities, but I think you kind of have to turn the page because the brother get hurt. I mean, he gets hurt way too often.
Jay is all about opportunity and positivity. If Jay is saying it's time to move on, and I've been saying that for like a calendar year.
Yeah. At least give JP Mason more run. He only had 5 carries, 27 yards. This is a marathon season. It's not a sprint. I don't know what the magic number is for CMC. I don't know if it's only 15 carries or 20 carries, whatever. As we all said, the NFL is very hard to win. You want your best players on the field. Now, clearly, if we're up by 3-4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, sit CMC. But other than that, Shanahan's going to want to use CMC, majority of the time. But I think you have to allow CMC to rest. I think you sit him out this game, let JP Mason eat. If Elijah is healthy, have him in there, or hey, bring up TDP. But we've got to rely on other backs other than CMC, no doubt. Debo, he's got the shoulder. I know he's listed as day-to-day as well. I think you probably should play Debo, even if he's kind of a decoy or whatever. You got to play Debo. But one of the most egregious things, how does George Kittle only get 2 targets and 1 catch when CMC and Debo aren't in the game? That's something that is just mind-blowing to me. You got to get George Kittle involved.
I want to get to that soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to talk about, because I heard what you say. I was listening to KNBR or 95. I don't know. I thought they all mixed to me. Or was it the Lockdown 49ers? One of those. Listen to a bunch of stuff today because I woke up late. I haven't been feeling good today, and I was like still mad about Sunday. And one of the things that they did bring up was like, what's up with Kittle? Like, hello, we have other players,
right?
But I want to get to that in a second. But sure, I think the all the injuries, if you really wanted to, you'd play them all safe and not have any of them play, right?
Right.
This is like the heart of the season right now. We need to accumulate as many wins as possible.
Yeah.
To get that number 1 seed. So like, unless it's an injury that is just, broken ankle, high ankle sprain, blown out knee, blown out shoulder, you gotta play.
You gotta suck it up and play. Yeah.
Yeah. They say with Christian McCaffrey, it's mostly a pain tolerance thing. Now, in the real world, we can't get shut up with Toradol, right?
Right.
Like, if that was the case, they would have to shoot me over my whole body with it. Like, can I just get like a body shot, like of Toradol, like right everywhere, so that I don't? Because with Toradol, I was just listening to an interview about Kurt Angle, the wrestler who was at WWE, and he was also a real wrestler, a Olympic wrestler.
Yeah.
And he broke his neck during the training for the Olympics in '96 in Atlanta. And he had to get shot up with Novocaine. His neck was still broken, but it was shot up with so much stuff that like he didn't feel it till after. And I feel like players in the NFL have a similar thing where like, okay, you want to feel this pain now or you want to feel it in 3 hours, right? So,
right.
And they have to make that decision whether they want to be shot up with Toradol or not. So it being a Monday night game and it being later in the day, I have a feeling if you put a gun, figuratively speaking, to Christian McCaffrey's head, he's going to play Monday night. I just don't see. We need him. We need them all right now. I mean, I don't know how much of it was Cleveland's defense, but man, the Niners, when they got undermanned in that game, they looked. Whew.
You also got to think, will the injury get any worse on CMC's part? Obviously, it sucks for him because he's getting hit on every play. Mm-hmm. So, is it possible it could get worse, or is it simply just pain? But I would leave it up to CMC. Hey, if he says he can go, hey, best running back in the NFL, he says he can go, put him out there. I would still say you still need to integrate JP Mason in the game plan. I don't think CMC is going to have 30 touches or 25 touches on Monday night. Maybe just give him like 15. But you got to use your other weapons on offense for sure.
Yeah, I was listening to the other podcast and they were talking about it. It's like Kyle goes to the guys that he trusts all the time, right?
Yeah,
Unless they're injured. And then what happens is when they get injured, he said something in the press conference after the game about, like we weren't prepared for how things ended up going, because a lot of people think that this game was going to be Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey heavy.
Yeah.
To play off of the fact that they like to rush the passer, right? Both of those guys got put on the shelf. So essentially your game plan became a drop back pass game plan, which fed right into the team in the NFL who has probably the best. I mean, they've just given up 1,000 yards on defense through 6 games. Think about that.
Yeah,
let me see if I got. Let me bring up. I think I still have it from yesterday. I played this during the stream yesterday. Let's see if we got it here. So Ryan G. Hensley posted this. This is some of the quarterbacks versus the Browns. You got Burrow.
Wow. So only one quarterback's really been efficient, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Pickett.
Well,
Jackson.
Well,
Jackson had a pretty good game.
Yeah, Pickett 50% completion in the NFL. That's like below average, I would say.
Yeah, but look at Burrow.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson balled out, but yeah, I mean, you think about that, and then Brock Purdy, he had just his worst game, and also his receivers didn't help him out, obviously with the injuries and Ayuk. But hey, Cleveland clearly does that to opposing quarterbacks.
Yeah, and so I like part of it, was I think the fact that it was their defense too. It wasn't like like the Niners just completely self-destructing.
Yeah.
It was a tough game to watch. Like if you go based off the first drive, I thought they were going to boat race. I thought they were going to boat race them.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is going to be another one of those. Woohoo! Be relaxing by fourth quarter. I'll be relaxing, eating some food, worrying about the next game, and then it came down to what it came down to, which is kind of transition me into my next topic. It came down to our guy, Jake Moody. Jake Moody had a rough game. 2 kicks missed, including the game winner. Jay of the Bay. Is Jake Moody on thin ice, and should we go out and sign Robbie Gould? Or are you a little bit more patient and you're going to give him another try or two before making such a dramatic move? I kind of think I know what you're going to say, but I'll let you say it anyways.
From a fan perspective, the thought did cross my mind. Maybe we should send a care package to Robbie Gould. Say we're sorry. Hey, we messed up. Take us back. But there's no way in hell that Shanahan,
boyfriend.
Exactly. There's no way in hell Shanahan and Lynch are going to do that. No way. They made their bed. Now they got to lay in it. They didn't want to allocate those funds to Robbie G. We get it. So that's why they went up and got Moody. I mean, Moody's been perfect through the regular season. He's been perfect. So I think we give him more time. I think if he got injured or something and it was season ending, then maybe you go after Robbie Gould or whatever. But I think we continue to be patient with Jake Moody. He's still an efficient kicker if you look at his numbers this season. I just think he's a rookie. He's building character right now by going through the adversity of playing in a hostile environment on the road, early kickoff time. Hey, he was iced by a timeout. We don't know how that affected him, but I think we got to give him more time. We got to give Moody more time, and I think he'll be just fine.
David McNiner, I thought the same thing during or after the game. Okay, so he says Moody needs to get over being iced. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Happened in the preseason too. The kick would have hit, but he was pushed right by the wind. Moody needs to look at the flags and compensate for the win. Yeah, that was the one thing about like Robbie Gould, and yeah, he missed kicks too, and he didn't always make them. But when it came time to make clutch kicks, he made kicks.
Yeah, he was perfect in the postseason, I believe.
Yeah,
Robbie Gould.
I just don't understand how someone who played in one of the most hostile college environments,
Michigan,
with bad weather, I live in the Northeast. I know how it gets, right?
Mhm.
How are you getting iced? I don't understand. I didn't understand, really didn't understand in the preseason when the game means nothing
Right.
and, there's no pressure on you and you were indoors and you were missing and pulling kicks.
I just think we live in a microwave society. We live in a instant gratification society. We expect to draft these guys and they come out and they're perfect. They're at the NFL level. They don't need to necessarily get better, or at least from a fan perspective, we don't allow them time to get better, to mature, to get better at their job. This is part of that process. I know he's done it in college, but at the pros, it's a different level. And I'm glad that he went through this adversity now, so that way in the playoffs, if we're on the road, he'll remember. Oh, I remember going in Cleveland. It was rainy weather. He can go back to that and he'll understand how that feels. He'll remember what that feels like. But the only way you remember that is you have to go through it first, and that's what Moody did. I mean, we can't just cut him because he missed a kick. I mean, it's just not that simple. That's just not how that's not how this works. We have to give him time to get better at his craft. And I think he will. I mean, I don't think the Niners are going to sign any other kicker unless there's an injury. So I just think Moody's got to get better, work at his craft. I think he'll be fine.
I feel like he's got to really fall off the table
Right.
with kick miss. I mean, he's got to have to start going through a thing where he can't make extra points, kind of like that Dallas kicker last year.
Yeah.
For them to make a move for a guy like Gold. I'm not gonna lie though, like I'm slightly impatient with NFL players when it comes to being in a win now mode team and every win being so important, especially if we're trying to accomplish what we want to accomplish this year. That number one seed is so important. Yeah. I don't want to go to Philly this year again. I just don't want to do it. I want it all to come through Levi's. So like, I know they asked, or he had a podcast, Eric Armstead, and he's like, we're still riding with him and he's our guy and he can learn from this experience. He does this a couple more times, that tune's going to change. I don't care who you are. So my thing is, hopefully he does learn and we don't see this kind of, botched up performance anymore this season. Like this is like a one-time thing. He used his go to jail free card or collect 200 or whatever you use in Monopoly.
So you're saying if he misses another game-winning kick, then it's time to call RG. It's time to send him a care package.
Depends, and it depends. It depends if we're like, if it's in a game where we can clinch the division and he misses. I don't want it to. I don't want it to be that. No, I don't think it's going to happen. But that's why I don't make the decisions for the 49ers. The guys, those guys do, because I probably would make a freaking a decision based on a whim just because I'm mad. But yeah.
The funny thing is, if he would have made the second kick, we would have been up by 1 point. If he would have made the second one. Now I know he made the first and missed the last two, but yeah. So
I want to say what's up to my guy Brian Culp real quick. Is up, my man? He's part of the Niners Coast to Coast on Monday, along with David McNiner. All we need is Ty Alston to jump through here, and we would have the whole crew in here. Yeah, I don't know. I was in rare form watching that game on Sunday. I don't get mad anymore watching games, but man, I was popping a couple times. I was just like, especially with the run defense in that game, it was just bad. What was going on?
Speaking of that run defense, I like what Raphael 562 Niners
I know where you're going. I know where
you're
going.
Miss Dre Greenlaw. Now,
oh hell yeah,
Greenlaw. Now, okay, Fred Warner, hell of a linebacker. He is a physical linebacker, but I don't think I'm not going to say he doesn't hit as hard as Greenlaw. I'm just going to say that Greenlaw is willing to go to the edge and go over the edge. Like he'll hit a player out of bounds just to prove a point, just to say, hey, I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. If you try to come across the middle, I'm taking your head off. Right. That's what Greenlaw brings. I feel like Warner is more calculated. He'll make a big hit. But I think it just means a little bit more when Greenlaw does it. And I think the 49ers missed that physicality. Granted, we only gave up 19 points, but I think if Greenlaw was in there, I don't think we would have given up. I think we gave up 160 rushing yards.
Yeah.
And we've only averaged over the season, we've only averaged 60 given up. So I think Greenlaw's definitely was missed. I like Huff in there as well. He's just as physical as Greenlaw. I feel like honestly, Huff, he's borderline dirty. If you watch him play, you watch him tackle, and he does a little bit of extra stuff after the whistle, but he's on your team, so you gotta
exactly. I'm exactly the same way. As long as he's on my team, I don't care if he's dirty. But if he's on the other team, I'm gonna cry like a little girl and complain to the refs. Real quick, if you're in here, don't be afraid to drop a like. It helps the YouTube algorithms find me. It's been a struggle lately with the live stream. So if you could just drop a like and get us up to where I think we got 15 people in here right now. So I think we have 7 likes. If you guys could just drop a like and it just helps out the YouTube algorithms a little bit, because I don't usually do a ton of solo streams on my channel, and I'm trying to get back into that. So that just helps the channel grow. But anyways, yeah, I think Greenlaw is more important to this defense than people realize. I feel like he's a tone setter,
enforcer.
And I feel like I can't say the Niners are a bunch of choir boys. They're not, but there's a lot of guys on this team that would probably have fit into the 1980s team as far as being finesse players. But we got a couple guys like a Greenlaw and Ofunga who are definitely throwbacks to that Ronnie Lott era of like, they might get penalized, but they're still going to play to the whistle and maybe a little bit through it. Those are the kind of guys I like. I like our team to have that little bit of like, if you're coming to play the 49ers, it's like a lunch pail game. You're probably going to be in the cold tub after it and taking a lot of ibuprofen. And that's why some teams play the 49ers and the Niners just beat them into submission, and the Niners win the war of attrition before they even win the game. You know what I mean? Brian Culp got after me because I completely slammed slammed Moody on Twitter. But he knows that I'm just, I told him I was in a really salty mood after that game. I don't get like that anymore, Jay. I've learned to zen out and just be like thankful for the Niners having a good team. But for some reason, that Browns game, just based on all the elements, man, I was hot. And I called out Moody, and he was like, Brian Kopp wasn't having it. He's like, I don't like the Moody topic. Hopefully you can save the day with a game winner.
Kickers miss kicks. That's just part of being in the NFL. Every kicker has missed a kick. It's not going to be the last time Moody misses a kick, but we just got to give them an opportunity to, redeem himself. And I think that's what we'll do Monday night. And we'll be in a dome. There won't be no issue with the weather. That won't be a factor.
Wet balls.
Yeah, no wet balls. Yeah, I mean, Brock, he was not only was he off, he had a little bit of trouble just holding the ball, gripping the ball. I mean, I don't know. I've never tried to throw a wet football. I mean,
I don't have really long fingers, but I have like meaty palms, right?
Yeah.
Troy Aikman had, if you go watch Troy Aikman and like do TV commentary or whatever, he's got the biggest hands I've ever seen in my life, right? I mean, his thumbs like bend out this way and that way. He had issues even with massive hands gripping a football, which is weird, right? So imagine a guy who's only got 9 1/4 inch hands, which is what Brock has, which isn't undersized, but it's on the borderline of being kind of small. But you know who doesn't have really big hands and seems not to have any problems? Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes even said it. They were doing something. He was throwing the ball with somebody. I forget where the clip was. And he's like, you actually have bigger hands than me. He's like, I got small hands for a quarterback. It don't hurt him. He's been in plenty of weather games. So I think the hands have to do with how you grip the ball, because I've learned, because I don't have super long fingers, but I have big palms. You have to grip the ball a different way. You have to leave a little bit of space to almost have it like where it's coddled into your hands. Whereas if you try to grip it too hard, it just slips right out. So there's like a little bit of grip and a little bit of like a holding almost like in a cup. And I don't know, he was having some problems. Like we said, it was just like the perfect mix of everything in that game, and it was so frustrating to watch because Seattle lost that day, and so did the Eagles.
The Eagles, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just like, man, I wish we could have had that bragging right, and maybe it was what we needed, because if you talk to some people, they think like, oh, the Eagles are watching the Niners right now, taking all the glory and talking about how they're so good as a team, and here are the Eagles just chilling in the background, the conference championship. So in a way, I think it was. I'm not saying it was good to lose, but I mean, if you listen to that Fred Warner interview today, he's like, we're not used to losing around here.
Yeah.
He's like, it stung. If it stings us as fans, it stings someone like Fred Warner. So in a way, it's probably the best thing that happened.
And the Niners needed to feel this. I don't know if anyone thought we would go undefeated, but the Niners needed to feel this. Also, something else that stood out during the game, the Niners were only 3 of 12 on third down conversions on offense. That's just not going to get it done. If you do that on third down, you're more than likely going to lose the game. And the Niners were still in it, though. The Niners were still in it. The last drive, I got to be honest with you. When I was watching that game, I told my wife, I was like, I hope the Browns make the field goal. I hope so. Because I want to see Brock Purdy, a 2-minute situation. He's got to drive us down the field. And he did just that. Some penalties came in our favor, absolutely, but he still drove us down the field. He got us in position to make that game-winning field goal. And, it's good to experience this now in the regular season and not the playoffs for the first time. I know all the other games during the regular season up to this point have appeared to be easy, but it's definitely good to get this loss because I didn't think we were going to go undefeated. I mean, you look at our schedule, we've got some the toughest games are probably Baltimore and Philly, but there's going to be some other tough games. There's no easy games in the NFL.
Yeah, we got Cincinnati at home in 2 weeks.
Cincinnati, yeah, that's gonna be a good game. Seems like they're they're starting to get their mojo back. Right. Burrow struggled a little bit. He's got the calf injury, but they've looked good so far the last few weeks.
I think we could beat them because I think our offense at full strength is better than Cincy's defense. But I think Cincy's offense, it would be a challenge to our defense.
Cincy's offense is legit.
I want to ask you about something that I don't have as a topic, but I want to ask you anyway. Is this speaking of the defense?
Sure.
What did you think of Randy Gregory's debut?
Hey, Randy Gregory looked good. I think there's a reason why the Niners wanted to trade for him. I think Drake Jackson started off the season great, but he hasn't really made an impact since. Nothing. Cleveland Ferrell, he's flashed a little bit, but he hasn't really gotten the sacks. And you mentioned Randy Gregory, 3 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackle for loss, 3 quarterback hits. And I think that was only on about, 15 passing plays. So Randy Gregory definitely flashed. I think we needed that pass rusher opposite of Nick Bosa because let's face it, Ferrell and Jackson, they just weren't cutting it. And I don't know about you, Faithful, or even you, Aaron, but I don't know. Are you satisfied with what you're getting from Nick Bosa? I mean, the guy misses the entire training camp.
No.
He wants to be the highest non-paid quarterback. And the 2 sacks he got, he wasn't even blocked. I know PFF has graded him as the best edge rusher or whatever, but he needs to be more of an impact player. He wants the big bucks. Hey, it comes with big responsibilities and expectations. And
I have not been happy with him. Yeah, I think the holdout hurt him.
Yeah.
I think it hurt him because he didn't get to go against guys like Trent Williams, Colt McKivitz, having those really dog days of summer type practices where you're just dog ass tired, but you got a lot of good work in. He's come into the season like raw. And I feel like he hasn't caught his wind yet. I feel like he's still in late August mode right now instead of early September mode. Randy Daytona Bosa was a bum. Nah, he definitely ain't no bum. He ain't no bum. I'll tell you what. I pounded the table in the offseason with guys like Raj from RSF 49ers Live, Ted Talks Ball, Ted Hazelrig,
Mhm.
and anybody else I streamed with during that time. I said the Niners needed to go get themselves another edge guy. And
Mhm.
everyone's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, Drake Jackson, I think he's had a really good offseason. The Niners got to believe in their youngsters. No, they got to believe in their youngsters. And I'm saying, like, I understand that. I get that. However, I'm more comfortable if they got somebody who has a little bit of tread on the tires, who's been
Mhm.
through it, right? Have him kind of be the guy and have those guys underneath him start chipping away at him with reps if they start to come into their own. And then you have a perfect storm. You have a veteran there and you have a bunch of good depth guys behind him. Well, no, they didn't do that. They went in with Drake Jackson, Clellan Farrell, and yeah, those were the two guys they went in with. And
Basically.
Drake Jackson's done nothing other than the first game. No, nothing.
Yeah.
You don't hear his name at all, ever.
Yeah.
And it's funny, if you watch the game, Randy Gregory got a lot of Drake Jackson snaps on those passing downs. So that tells you right there what the Niners think of Drake Jackson right now. If I'm the Niners, as we get closer to the trade deadline, I don't stop. I go after another defensive line player or a secondary piece. Depending on who you talk to, they say the Niners could be active at the trade deadline, that it ain't over yet, and they could, add more players because this is like a Super Bowl run year.
Yeah.
I forgot it. Danielle Hunter from Minnesota has been one guy that everybody has been kind of pointing to as a possible.
Didn't
player.
he just sign an extension with Minnesota in the offseason? I think.
Was it him?
I think it was. Let me check. But he is a interesting name because he could definitely contribute on the Niners. That's for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe if we go after another corner, maybe Pat Surtain too, or
I think the Niners, if the Niners are at the trade deadline and they got one loss and they have a bunch of wins and they're like, okay, let's look at this home stretch. We could really use impact player. Would you go for an offensive impact player? Maybe another receiver?
Ooh. I guess it depends on the name, but in regards to Danielle Hunter, it looks like he is a free agent in 2024, so he did not sign an extension with Minnesota. But yeah, another offensive playmaker, absolutely. Who did you have in mind?
Off of guys that are already over here.
Yeah.
What about a guy like Cortland Sutton? Would he become
Denver? Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
Sutton?
It depends on what compensation Denver will want, but I think he's definitely a good wide receiver.
Yeah, people in the trash. We're people in the trash. I'm looking at Tommy's. I'm looking at this comment right here, and I'm saying people in the trash. So the people in the comments, this is all just talk, and there's no proof behind any of it. David McMiner made a good point with Womack attack coming back. I would go for a tight end. And that is one thing. I mean, like, and I guess we could get into that next. The Niners don't really have another tight end but George Kittle, and it's like they drafted 2 this year, and those guys aren't seeing the field. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same 2 backups. It's Warner and it's Dwelly, and you've heard nothing. I mean, the one guy's hurt, and the other guy is just whatever.
The other guy is more of a blocker. His name from Oklahoma. His name is escaping me, but I think he did. Exactly. I think he's more of a blocker. I think he did get some run in a few early games in the season, but he hasn't really made an impact. But I mean, you're telling me you're not excited by Charlie Warner and Ross Dwelly?
Hell no. Let's talk about the tight end position.
Yeah.
Why is Kyle Shanahan so damn stubborn that he doesn't try to get George Kittle involved? Because if you talk to some people who watch game film, he's open, but he's not the number one in the progression. Remember last year, it was Brandon Ayuk was saying, I'm the 4th or 5th option on a run first team. Well, you could probably say now he's the 2nd option behind Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
On a pretty balanced team, still run first, I would say. Why is Kittle all of a sudden like a non-factor in every single game? Like, build a game plan around him, get him open. I mean, is he that broken down? Can he not separate anymore? Like, what's the problem? People are saying, take all the weapons away from Purdy and he's nothing. I mean, you could probably say that about most quarterbacks. If you take
exactly.
all the weapons away. Yeah. So that's a crap ass argument. I hate when people say, well, take this guy and that guy. If you took Joe Montana and you took away Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Brent Jones, Roger Craig, and you put him with a bunch of scrubs, Montana's probably going to struggle too. I mean, he might still be Joe, but if you're throwing to guys and they're not catching the ball and they can't get open, then whatever. Where's Kittle? I want to see Kittle. I want some Kittle love.
No, absolutely. I like how about the Niners says Cordarrelle Patterson, who's not really used now because they're going the young route with the Atlanta Falcons. That's a solid move, and it probably wouldn't take much to get Cordarrelle Patterson.
Like he's a Niners type guy, running back.
Yeah, he could be like a Debo type.
It's more under the radar too. He probably wouldn't cost as much.
Right, exactly, and he's not getting paid a lot.
Yeah, how about the Niners? That's a good one. Yeah,
great.
That would be a good piece. I could see that and still doing another move on defense.
Right. No, exactly.
You know what I
mean? And in regards to Kittle, I mean, you look at what he's done this season, he's had basically 2 breakout games. I mean, against the Giants, he had 7 catches, 90 yards. Against the Cowboys, he had only 3 catches, but 3 of those were touchdowns. Other than that, he's had 3 catches against the Steelers, 3 catches against the Rams, 1 catch against the Cardinals, and then the 1 catch against the Browns. So, it's not consistent. Obviously, we've got a lot of weapons, and guys want their touches. You got to feed Debo, you got to feed Ayuk, you got to feed CMC. But in the game against the Browns, there is no excuse, right? Because 2 of those guys were out of the game. So I don't understand if maybe Jim Schwartz must have keyed on Kittle after those guys went out. Maybe that's why Purdy didn't really throw to Kittle, or maybe Shanahan has got to, as you mentioned, make Kittle the focal point, and he should be the first read on some plays. But it's unfortunate that we didn't see that, because we know what Kittle can do. We know he's a mismatch nightmare. We know he can get open. We know he's got good hands. He can run away from defenders. That was definitely disappointing that we didn't utilize Kittle more often.
I definitely now in this regular season and in the draft upcoming next year, I would like to see the 49ers not only go for an offensive tackle if they can, if they have a move that they can make to say the middle of the first round. But dude, we got to find another tight end, bro. Like, I want Kittle to have the pressure be off of him so that he can be free. I thought that was the case now, but maybe he needs more pressure put off of him, because that dude, all he does is block. He's like a 5th offensive lineman. I want to say real quick, what up to Red Jet Shell? Says, what's good, everyone? Niners. Thank you very much, Red Jet.
Just real quick, when you say the Niners need to get a tight end, do you want them to get like a backup veteran tight end, like a Zach Ertz, or do you want them to go back in the draft? Because if it's the draft, they've already done that. They've got Kamla too. They got Willis.
Maybe they can go the veteran route.
Yeah. And with a veteran tight end who's still maybe not in their prime, but maybe in the back end of their prime, do they want to come in and back up George Kittle and take less money? So that's,
you want to win. You want to win. If you're content being on a sorry ass team and not winning, but getting 80 catches and 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns a year, yeah, go ahead, stay on the team you're on. But if you want to come to the Niners and maybe get only like 25, 30 catches and 5 touchdowns, but you win a championship or you have a chance at a championship, that's up to you. Some people want the money. That's fine. It's, their prerogative. Like Bobby Brown says, it's my prerogative. It's whatever. If you go after a guy like Cordarrelle Patterson, I could see them still going and saying, you know what, let's go make a move for another defensive lineman. Yeah. Frank Clark, don't think that's going to happen.
Probably not.
But, he likes to put his hand on women, so it's probably not going to – doesn't really fit in the whole 49ers community if you're smacking women.
Exactly.
When you're not smacking,
I don't think that will work.
Quarterbacks, yeah.
I don't think that will work.
Red Jet says maybe veteran is the way to go at this point. Rookie might not be feasible. We don't seem to have much luck in that department, although in hindsight we've had success also. Yeah, tight end's a let's rewind. Tight end is a tough one to hit on in the draft, and when you hit on them, they're usually really good.
And especially since we're not going to be, drafting in the first round. This year we will, but I just don't think we're going to be drafting in the back end of the first round. And I don't know. I don't see the Niners drafting a tight end in the first round. When was the last time the Niners was that Vernon Davis? Last time we drafted a tight end in the first round.
I think he was in the first round.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. So
Yeah. As far as Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, you guys
Greg
are ridiculous.
Olsen, Antonio Gates.
Those guys are like some of them are my age, and some are closer to like 50. I'm almost 44, by the way, Jay. 2 more months. Yikes.
Nice. Hey.
Ooh. Yes, Laura Cat. That it's my prerogative. That's one of my favorite songs by Bobby Brown. It's what does it go? What's the word? I relate to that song. People like to run their mouth about me. So, anyways, no, they don't. No one cares. Yeah, like I would love to see Kittle get more involved. I would love to see the Niners get a little bit more diverse in the way that they play people. It just seems like it's 2 guys every week, Ayuk and CMC. That's it. Kyle, one thing about Kyle I will say, when Kyle has things that work, he doesn't still try to get other people involved to say like, oh, maybe just in case we have an injury or just in case we're missing 2 guys, we have the ability to get other people the ball and be successful. He's so locked in on like, I'm going to use what's in front of me and not really care about everybody else, that like when those guys go down, if you listen to his press conference, he says, like we weren't ready for what happened or whatever. It's like, don't you practice with a situation or get yourself with play calls that say, okay, if so-and-so is out of the game, I have these 7 to 10 plays that I could run to get him open. Like that, for a guy that's so great at coaching, that kind of put me off a little bit, that he said that we weren't ready for what was coming after those 2 guys went out. I was like, that
you weren't impressed. You weren't impressed with Ray McLeod. Ray. Ooh, he was doing those jet sweeps.
He ran right into Trent Williams.
Yeah, that was
Mark. That hurt too.
Yeah,
he like bit it. His teeth hit together, or he bit his tongue, or like he had a come to Jesus moment where he thought maybe about quitting football, because that's a big man to run into.
Yeah. But he did try to utilize Ray in that Debo role. He did a few jet sweeps. I think Ray caught a catch. Ray was solid in special teams. I mean, they went to him. I think Jennings had 2 catches, I think, but Jennings only gets a few targets a game. I think the biggest
can't separate.
No, but they go to him on 3rd down. He's a big receiver. I mean, he's got good hands. I mean, they go to Jennings, but yeah, the biggest issue, they didn't go to Kittle at all, basically. So, you got to wonder. But also, they kept beating themselves. Even when they got positive yardage on the early downs, they would get penalties. So then it was a 1st and 25, a 2nd and 22.
Accepted penalties, 12 accepted.
You can't win like that on the road, hostile environment against the best defense in the NFL. You just, it's...
Everything fell apart in that game.
Yeah.
I watched that game on mute. You imagine watching a game with the commentary on, watching on mute when a team's struggling. It's really bad.
It's really bad to watch.
I was getting really upset with the commentary because they were like, "Whoa, the Browns," and I was just like, "Shut up." So I put it on mute, and it was even worse because it's just like somebody put me in like some sort of like, I don't know, like a panic room or not a panic room, like one of those rooms where you have to like figure out a way out of them. Maybe it is called a panic room, but like some sort of isolation type torture. And that's what it felt like watching them. It was penalty after blown up play, after incompletion, after a drop, after it was just like, goodness gracious alive, this is bad football. How do you go from putting on 42 points on the Cowboys, who are loaded skill wise, and then come out the next week and look like the Buccaneers in the late 70s who couldn't win a game? Like, what? How did you fall that far? It pissed me off. That's why I haven't been hot for games in a long time. I've been trying to, not let football get to me that way, but I was pretty mad. Like, I'm still a bit bummed. Like, they got to really put it on Minnesota next week for me to be in a good place. So.
I think they will. They have to bounce back. I think they will. I think that's a good opponent for them. It's on Monday night. It's in Minnesota. Don't have to worry about the weather. I think they will bounce back, but I think the Niners got beat up front. I mean, that Cleveland front, they don't have a lot of big names other than Myles Garrett. I think they still have Jadeveon Clowney. I think it was over there, or did he leave? I'm not sure, but
who's that?
Jadeveon Clowney, the edge rusher opposite of Myles Garrett, is he still with them, or did he? Or they might have gotten.
I don't even think Clowney's signed anywhere. Is
Okay,
he?
okay. It might
I don't
have.
know.
It might have. There's another edge rusher opposite of Garrett. It might have been the. I think he used to be with the Packers. His name is escaping me. I have to look it up.
Darius Smith.
Exactly. Yeah, Darius Smith. Exactly. So I think they beat us up front, especially on the interior.
They're really good. That's one of the best defensive lines I see. People, Myles Garrett. If like Bosa's here, Myles Garrett's like right there.
And he made Trent Williams have one of his worst games. Now, granted, Trent Williams was playing on one leg, but Myles Garrett is a beast. There's no doubt about that.
I was talking to my brother about how guys like Trent Williams, big offensive linemen, they always have these like lower body injuries and why they're so catastrophic. When you're that big and something goes up top that forces something on the bottom half to go a way that ain't supposed to go, it's more catastrophic.
Yeah.
Because if you look at a 6'5" body, the foot is so small compared to the rest of it or the ankle. That's why guys, when big guys get hurt and it's like ankle injuries, it's so bad for them because they're such a massive frame. And you take an ankle out on a 6'5", 330 pound, 340 pound guy, and it's like it's the end of the world.
Yeah, or even like foot injuries, any lower body injuries. Yeah, definitely. The
taller you are,
who's over 300 pounds. Yeah.
Yep. I'm freaking 290, 6'3", and my knees. Me having knee problems is the worst. You're useless. You're completely useless. Like you have all this size, but it's pointless. It's just like a big fat ass guy with bad knees. It's just that's all it is. So, real quick with the Vikings, do you want to give any type of prediction, or you want to save it for? Well, I say save it till next week, but we play Monday night.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll give a prediction. I mean, we're going up against Captain Kirk. Obviously, there's a lot of history between him and Shanahan. You know, Shanahan was part of the coaching staff with the Washington football team when they drafted Kirk Cousins. So, you know, they know each other well. Kirk Cousins, I think he's a good quarterback. Is he going to win your Super Bowl? Probably not, but he could still throw the ball. They're without, though, Justin Jefferson, which I think will be a huge deal.
That's big for the Niners. Yeah, the Niners are getting lucky on that one.
And also the Vikings don't really run the ball that well. I think they're like bottom 5 in average rushing yards per game. They're like around 70 yards. So they're basically a one-dimensional offense, which I think is good. That means the Niners defensive line can go after Kirk Cousins and then make his life miserable. And I think that's what will happen. I think the Niners will bounce back in this game. I think Kittle will get more than 2 targets in this game. Because I think even if Debo or CMC plays, they're not going to be obviously even 90%. So I just think they'll be solid, but you got to get Kittle more involved. And I think they'll do that. I think Moody will bounce back. I think we're going to see him make some kicks in that dome. And I think the Niners win this, I would say pretty handily, pretty easily. I think it'll be like 27-14, something like that.
You guys are going to kill me, but like just because they're in a dome and they're on the road, I'm going to say 27-17.
Okay.
Say it's a little closer. I don't think Captain Kirk is a complete schlub. And I think the Niners, the thing that's been getting to me with the Niners lately is their pass rush has been a little bit of hot and cold.
Yeah.
That score can be a lot less for the Vikings if the Niners pass rush Gregory and Bosa and Hargrave can come alive in this game, because they haven't really had that one game where they get like 6-7 sacks. I'm not saying they're going to. They had the first game of the year and it was great, but a lot of those were like effort sacks. Like all 3 of those Drake Jackson sacks were effort sacks. You know what I mean? So it could be a lot less and the Niners could score a lot more. It's hard for me to really make a prediction that's really has a whole lot to it because I don't know who's playing. And I want to see, like, if it's Kittle and CMC and Debo and everybody's full go, I can see the Niners putting 35 up, 40, 38-17 type game. But I want to see what happens this coming week with the players. Red Jet, real quick, says salute and respect to content creators and people that pull up in the chats without missing a beat. No clout chasing here, baby. Yeah, This is definitely a non-clout chasing YouTube channel. Same with Jay. It's been cool, Jay. It's been a while. I don't want us to be going a year and a half without streaming again. So we're gonna have to figure something out on Tuesdays. Maybe I need to go late because I don't have any streams on Tuesdays. So if I do stream on Tuesdays, I can stream, but it would have to be closer to the time we did today, 9:30.
Right.
My time. So, but I appreciate you coming through.
Absolutely. Hey, I just want to mention. I want to mention real quick about I think what teams have been doing is getting rid of the ball quickly, so that way we can't get those sacks. And also with Wilks, he's playing a defense, and this could change, but in the future, but he's playing a defense where the corners are playing back and we'll give up those 6-7 yard pass patterns. We don't want to really get beat off deep passes, which Amari Cooper, he had 2 big catches. He mossed Mooney Ward on one of them, but we don't really give up that many big plays down the field, and I think that's attributed to Wilkes' defenses. But the downside to that is quarterbacks can get the ball out of their hands really fast because our corners are playing back. So, maybe if we played a little bit more press, bump and run coverage, the quarterback would have to hold on to the ball a little bit longer, and we can get those sacks. But yeah, that's something that I noticed. But I would just want to say, yeah, it's been a blast kicking it with you. We definitely got to do this more often. And I appreciate you letting me get on your platform today. 49ers First Takes. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you definitely put me in a better mindset. That's why I was like, I gotta have Jay and I'm not saying that you're just a person who's positive without any substance, but I've been trying to be better this year, but this game kind of undid some things upstairs. So I needed to kind of be brought back into a
but you knew that we weren't going undefeated. Like there were going to be some games that there's always going to be some games on the schedule that we should win, but we don't because of what happens in the game. We don't play our best. There are injuries. We're beating ourselves with penalties. So I think this was just one of those games. Now, if we lose to Minnesota, like that, I think, we're going to have some more problems for sure. Appreciate that, Laura. Appreciate that.
Great show, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming through. How about them Niners says bring back DJ Jones?
Go DJ. Sure.
Bring them all back.
DJ. Hey, but DJ Jones, I mean, he's getting paid a pretty penny, and we've already, paid Javon Hargrave. Bosa got paid. Armstead. Kinlaw, hey, he's in the last year of his deal, but he's making a nice coin as a first-round pick. So I'd be surprised if we went after DJ Jones, even though
we have more pressing needs than defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Edge, O tackle, receiver / running back.
Yeah.
Those are kind of my power areas that I think the Niners should address. But another time, another stream, hopefully we can hit it up again sooner rather than later. Thank you everybody for coming into the chat. Appreciate it. It's always nice to have people that come in here and watch along with the stream and comment and all that stuff. It always helps. Absolutely. Us talking to each other without any crowd is pointless. So thanks everyone. Take care. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I got 2 streams tomorrow. Until then, stay safe and healthy and go Niners.